Good day everyone, we're the group Valkyries and the topic for our summative assessment is about social justice in the Philippines entitled, Is President Duterte's War on Drug Ethical? Corruption, poverty, and crime have always been prominent in the Philippines, in which illegal drugs take roles connected in these actions. This country has the greater rates of illegal drug usage and abuse in comparison to East and Southeast Asian countries when it comes to methamphetamines or shabu. So with this, the President Duterte proposed his solution of ending the drug problem during the national electorate in 2016, which impacted him positively and made him elected as the president. He has been known for being hostile towards the drug addicts and ordering the police forces to take the actions within their hands with or without involving legal prosecution against these alleged users, as he is strictly opposed to illegal drug utilization, as drugs generate violent crimes such as homicide, assault, robbery, and etc. He aims to end this problem within the scope of his presidency in the hopes of a better future by turning the Philippines into a drug-free country. He also posits a safer community where fear against drug-related problems is being eradicated. However, although President Rodrigo Duterte's war on drugs made some Filipinos feel safer due to the lessened crimes and drug problems, his program is unethical and problematic due to three reasons. So first, it encourages direct violence through extrajudicial killings, which violates the human rights of the Filipinos. Second, it does not address the root causes of drug problems, which are poverty and corruption, which advances the structural violence. And third, it is not aligned with deontological ethics.
Numerous studies demonstrate the relationship between substance abuse and other forms of criminal behavior, including violence. Thousands of homicides and other violent crimes shows that substance abuse is a frequent factor. As a direct result of addiction, there is an increase in crime. Criminal activity and violence impair adolescent development of emotional control skills, exploration of their environment, and interaction with others. Children who are exposed to violence may develop hostility for it. Hence, a program was developed by the PNP called Uplan Tokhang, through which they knock to the doors of the drug addicts and offer them a chance to surrender and redeem themselves. This program is supported in low-income areas in Infanta, province of Quezon, where residents supports EJK. They confirmed that there were more people who are drug users and dealers in the streets, all of which contributed in the growth of crime and prevalence of drug abuse. Thus, after the program, the community felt safer since drug dealers and users were less. Moreover, a September 2017 poll conducted by the public polling organization called Social Weather Stations revealed that the public supports Duterte's drug war. Talabong 2017, cited in FernQuest year 2018, stated that 63% of the country expressed satisfaction with the campaign. As a measure of effectiveness of intervention, the study indicates that 71% of the respondents believe their communities have reduced drug addicts than they did during the previous administration. Also, as stated by Johnson and Fernquest year 2018, a survey conducted halfway through Duterte's first year in office found that 88% of Filipino adults perceived a decline in country's drug problem. Official statistics indicate that crime decreased by more than a quarter during Duterte's initial year. An ethical framework of utilitarianism focuses on the favorable consequences, and the majority can support his tough stance, wherein it may be viewed as a necessary evil and morally justified, since the repercussions of extrajudicial killings are considered more beneficial than detrimental to everyone.
However, analyzing the war on drugs by the President Rodrigo Duterte is unethical for these reasons. First, his program encourages direct violence through extrajudicial killings, which violates the Filipino human rights. According to Jonah Galtung, there are three categories of violence: direct, structural, and cultural. Where indirect violence, also known as personal violence, refers to having an existing relationship between the perpetrator and recipient through physical violence such as human rights abuse by state security forces. Galtung, 1979, as stated in Attack 2009. This violence can be seen in President Duterte's war on drugs, which has been controversial due to the large-scale deaths in the country. Dead bodies can be seen on the streets, either wrapped in a tape, bandages, or have signage of "Pusher ako, wag tularan." Or some just lay on the street and mourned by their families. This instance can be counted as extrajudicial killings in which the current administration practices when their program started. EJKs or state killing is led by the police forces, is a type of state crime wherein people are being punished by getting killed without a formal and legal prosecution. Watts 2016 as stated in FriendQuest 2018. Most victims with 13,000 cases of these unethical killings did not even have a chance to defend themselves, and even if they did, the police would only tag them as nanlaban. They would plant drugs and weapons upon investigation to justify their killings, just like what happened to Kian de los Santos, FriendQuest 2018. With this, one question could come into one's mind. Who gives them the power to kill and deprive these Filipinos of their human rights? President Duterte's active state promotion of killing promoted this so-called self-help homicide of all varieties. It can be observed in every public speech he made. Verbalizations of "I don't care about human rights. Believe me, there is no due process in my mouth." Orders of "go ahead and kill them," to the police to eliminate all drug users without any hesitation, and orders of "please free to call the police, or if you have a gun, do it yourself. You have my support. Shoot and I'll give you a medal," to the public, promoting vigilant killings that violates human rights of right to life, free from torture, equal treatment, and access to justice. Thus, his program did not deter drug issues, but worsens the societal problems and abuses in the Philippines, as Johnson and FriendQuest 2018.
Furthermore, the war on drugs does not address the root causes of drug problems among Filipino citizens, as the drug problems stem from systemic issues such as poverty and corruption. These are the issues that advance structural violence among Philippine society. Structural violence, as defined by Peter Pronsos, are harmful conditions derived from economic and political structures of power that are created and upheld by human actions and institutes in a state. By Prontos, 2004, as cited in Attack last 2009. Oftentimes, while certain policies are meant to tackle a certain problem, What often arises is the repression of powerless individuals. In regards to drug problems in the Philippines, policies such as the war on drugs does not mitigate drug abuse, but rather leads to further direct and indirect aggression or violence among impoverished Filipinos. According to the survey conducted in Duterte's first year in office, a full 70% of Filipinos were worried of becoming the next victim of EJKS. By Talabong 2017 as cited in FernQuest last 2018. Instilling fear not only in those who suffer with addiction, but also in innocent individuals who could possibly become collateral in buy-bust operations. Some proof of structural violence can be found in David Johnson and John Fernquest's article, Governing Through Killing, the War on Drugs in the Philippines, in which they mentioned that most of the victims came from impoverished society because methamphetamine is often used to cope with hardships in manual labor, emotional stress, and hunger accompanied with an impoverished lifestyle. By Johnson and Fernquest last 2018. They utilizes they utilize drugs as means to an end, so that at the end of the day, they provide what they can for their families. What is more important to ending drug abuse in the Philippines is to tackle the economic issues that lead individuals to see drugs as means to an end. By providing economic opportunity and rehabilitation, measures to the impoverished, not only will the drug problem be mitigated, but also all the problems related to ethical and economical problems of the Philippines.
Lastly, his program cannot be justified as it is not aligned with deontological ethics. According to Internet Encyclopedia Philosophy of 2021, deontological ethics is a normative ethical theory that focuses on how the action's morality is based on foundational principles of obligation, following the right actions within a set of laws rather than the consequences of that action. These actions are compulsory and may be based upon the four identified duties. But concentrating on the second and fourth duty, the second duty focuses more on the human rights, such that rights are defined as natural or not invented, universal and equal. In this sense, the war on drugs deprived Filipinos of their rights to life and justice, especially those alleged drug users. The administration acted as if they invented human rights and killed people who did not conform to their standards. On the other hand, the last and fourth duty focuses on fidelity, reparation, justice, beneficence, and non-maleficence. Viewing this duty on the war on drugs, the president's actions failure to follow his promise of making the country drug-free within 3 to 6 months so that people would feel safer is infidelity, according to Ranada 2016. His administration also failed to compensate most of the victims on the war on drugs, which was unable to follow reparation. Moreover, injustices that are impossible not to be noticed in the country were worsened in this program, since Filipinos were executed without due process, leaving the families to not achieve justice and equality. Beneficence, or the duty to improve the condition of the people, was only partly done in the program since, as stated earlier, some felt safe within and after this program, but the majority, or 70%, felt fear of being the next victim of EJK. The program also did not improve the living conditions of those surrendered since illegal drug usage after incarceration is not guaranteed. Drug addiction is a medical disorder that should be treated. Thus, rehabilitation to improve and stop them from the usage is recommended, according to Cornerstone of Recovery 2021. Lastly, and most crucial moral conviction in this duty is non-maleficence. Rodrigo Duterte has always been proud of injuring and harming people by broadcasting and encouraging the police forces and people to do violence and confessing to killing 3 kidnappers in Davao during 1988 in the national TV, according to Johnson and Fernquist 2018. Failure to follow all these duties stresses the country's weak justice and accountability system, making the Philippines a more weak state as mentioned by Joy Asaron in Pills, according to FEU Academics 2020. In conclusion, while President Rodrigo Duterte's policy of war on drugs is utilized and intended as a means to an end, violence as a solution to rid of the problem in the Philippines makes this issue unethical. This is because, along with the program, he encourages violence through extrajudicial killings, which not only violates their human rights but kills those he sworn to protect. Also, he does not address the problem by tackling the source and cause of the drug issue, but rather seeks to eradicate it by the use of direct and structural violence aimed to end a life rather than to preserve and rehabilitate it. Furthermore, while President Duterte clearly abides by the utilitarian ethics, there resides the moral obligation to follow the theological ethics in regards to the lives of his own Filipino citizens. In examining the opposition's view, although we can say that President Duterte's stance can be seen as a necessary evil, this is ignorant due to the fact that there are many other ways to combat the issues of drug abuse, such as rehabilitation, financial support, and government programs aimed at providing support and economic opportunities to the affected communities. It is important for us, as Filipinos, to recognize that extrajudicial killings are not solving the problem but only amplifying it, creating holdouts that lead to more violence on both sides. Not only does this lead to an entrenchment of the drugs in our communities, but also upholds a cycle of violence that will ingrain in the future generations. Moreover, we can combat this by providing ethical solutions across the board, not only in the affected communities but also in how the government operates and treats this issue. It should start by recognizing that the iron fist utilitarian approach does not work, and we must approach the drug issue with open arms as many of these individuals are impoverished and in struggling society, meaning that they do not want to engage in drugs yet to do so because it is the only way for them to provide for their families. If we really wish to help and heal our fellow citizens, we must push for policies that value individual life and advocate for change not only in the way how we view those affected by drugs but also in how the government views them. With this, we can achieve a drug-free country by doing ethical policies that preserve lives and human rights as well.